Hello, everyone. If you've been hearing about a $2,000 stimulus check and you're wondering what's real and what's not, you're in the right place. I know there's a lot of confusing information out there right now, and that can be stressful, especially when it comes to money you might be counting on. So let me start by saying this. Take a deep breath. You are not missing anything urgent today. There is no check being sent out tomorrow that you need to apply for right now. What we're seeing is a discussion, a proposal being talked about in Washington. And yes, some people may eventually qualify, but nothing has been finalized yet. In this video, I'm going to walk you through everything we know so far about this $2,000 stimulus discussion. I'll explain what the 58% may qualify headline actually means, who might be included if this moves forward, what's confirmed, and what's still just speculation, and most importantly, what you should or shouldn't be doing right now. My goal here is simple, to give you clear, honest information without the hype, without the fear, and without making promises that haven't been made yet. So let's break this down together step by step. So first things first, what are people actually talking about when they mention a $2,000 stimulus check? Right now, there are discussions happening among lawmakers about economic relief for Americans who are struggling with the cost of living. Prices for groceries, rent, utilities, and just about everything else have gone up significantly over the past few years. And for seniors on fixed incomes, people receiving Social Security, SSI, SSDI, veterans, and low-income workers, that squeeze has been very real. Some members of Congress have proposed the idea of a one-time stimulus payment, similar to what we saw during the pandemic, to help people manage these rising costs. The figure being discussed in some proposals is around $2,000 per eligible person. Now, here's what's important to understand. This is currently a proposal. That means it's an idea being discussed, debated, and considered. It is not a law yet. It has not been signed. Checks are not being printed. Dates have not been set. I want to be very clear about that because I've seen videos and posts saying checks are coming next week or apply now before it's too late. That is not accurate. If and when a stimulus payment is approved, you will hear about it through official government channels first, not through random videos or posts on social media. So when you hear $2,000 stimulus, think of it as a conversation happening in Washington, not a done deal. Now let's talk about that 58% may qualify number because I know that's what caught a lot of people's attention. This percentage comes from analysis done by researchers and policy groups who looked at the income levels and demographics of Americans. They tried to estimate how many people would be eligible if a stimulus payment were structured in a certain way, specifically if it targeted low to moderate income households. Here's the simple version. If lawmakers decide to send out a $2,000 payment and they use income limits similar to previous stimulus checks, roughly 58% of Americans might fall within those limits. That would be a little over half the country. But, and this is important, that 58% is an estimate based on assumptions about how the program might be designed. It's not an official number from the government. Different proposals could have different income cutoffs, different rules, and therefore different percentages of people who qualify. So when you see 58% may qualify, read that as if this moves forward and follows a similar structure to past payments, a majority of Americans could be eligible. It's not a guarantee. It's a projection. The actual percentage will depend entirely on how the final program is written, if it's written at all. All right, so who might actually qualify if a $2,000 stimulus payment gets approved? Based on how past stimulus checks worked and based on the proposals being discussed now, here are the groups that could be included. Low to moderate income workers would likely be covered. If you're working but your income is below a certain threshold, let's say $75,000 a year for a single person or $150,000 for a married couple, you'd likely be included. Those were the cutoffs used in previous rounds, though they could be adjusted. Social Security recipients would very likely qualify as well, as long as your total income doesn't exceed the limits. In past stimulus payments, Social Security recipients were automatically included and received their payments without having to do anything extra. People receiving supplemental security income, or SSI, were also included in previous stimulus rounds. If a new payment happens, SSI recipients would almost certainly qualify again. The same goes for Social Security Disability Insurance recipients, or SSDI. They were included before and would likely be included again. Veterans receiving VA benefits, whether that's compensation or pension benefits, were included in past payments, and there's no reason to think they'd be excluded this time. This is important for seniors who don't file taxes. Some seniors live entirely on Social Security and don't file tax returns. In previous stimulus rounds, the IRS used Social Security data to automatically send payments to these individuals. If this happens again, you would not need to file a tax return to receive the money. Low-income individuals and families would also likely be covered. Anyone whose income falls below the threshold and who filed a recent tax return or who receives federal benefits would likely qualify. Now, in some proposals, there's also talk about providing extra payments for dependents, whether that's children, disabled adults, or elderly relatives you care for. That's still being discussed, so I can't confirm that part yet. The key thing to remember is this. If you qualified for previous stimulus payments, you would very likely qualify again. And if you didn't qualify before because your income was too high, the same might be true this time, depending on the final rules. Now let's talk about who might not qualify, because it's important to have realistic expectations. Higher income individuals may not receive the full amount or may not receive anything at all. If your income is above the cutoff, again, let's use $75,000 for a single person as an example. You may see your payment reduced or eliminated entirely. In past payments, benefits phased out gradually as income increased, and they disappeared completely once you hit a certain level. People without a valid Social Security number generally needed one to qualify in previous rounds. Some non-citizens and dependents without Social Security numbers were excluded, though rules can vary depending on how the program is structured. Incarcerated individuals have been a gray area in the past. There has been debate and even legal action around whether people in prison qualify. Rules have changed depending on court decisions and legislation, so it's unclear how this would be handled. If a new payment is approved, people who are claimed as dependents on someone else's tax return may also face restrictions. In the past, adult dependents like college students or elderly parents living with families sometimes didn't receive their own payments, though, again, this could change. The bottom line is this. If you have a moderate or higher income, or if your situation falls into one of these categories, you may not be eligible. But none of this is final until a law is actually passed. So what do we actually know for certain right now, and what's still just speculation? Let me be very direct with you. As of today, here is what is confirmed. Lawmakers are discussing economic relief options. That part is true. There is genuine conversation happening in Congress about ways to help Americans who are struggling financially. Proposals have been introduced. Some members of Congress have formally introduced bills or proposals that include direct payments to individuals. These proposals exist, they've been written down, and they're being reviewed. Now, here's what is not confirmed. There is no approved $2,000 stimulus payment right now. No bill has passed both the House and the Senate. Nothing has been signed into law by the president. There are no payment dates set. Anyone telling you that checks will arrive on a specific date in the coming weeks is guessing at best or misleading you at worst. The exact eligibility rules are not finalized. We don't know for certain what the income limits will be, whether dependents will receive payments, or how the program will be structured. Those details will only become clear if and when legislation is actually passed. Whether this will happen at all is also uncertain. Even if a proposal has strong support, it still needs to go through the legislative process. That means committee reviews, debates, votes, potential amendments, and more. Some proposals never make it through. Others get significantly changed along the way. So while it's possible that a stimulus payment could be approved, it's also possible that it won't be, or that it will look very different from what's being discussed now. I know that's not the exciting, definitive answer you might have been hoping for, but it's the honest one. And honestly is what you deserve, especially when it comes to your finances. Now let's address some of the misinformation that's been spreading, because I know a lot of you have seen conflicting information online. First, and most importantly, checks are not being sent out this week or next week. I've seen videos with titles like stimulus checks depositing January 15th or get your $2,000 by Friday. That is not true. There is no approved program, so there is no schedule. If you see a specific date mentioned, be very skeptical. Second, you do not need to apply or register anywhere right now. Some websites and social media posts are telling people to sign up, enter their information, or click a link to claim their stimulus check. Do not do this. These are often scams designed to steal your personal information. If a legitimate stimulus payment is approved, it will work the same way previous ones did. If you receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, the payment would be sent to you automatically using the information the government already has. If you filed a recent tax return, the IRS would use that information to send your payment. You would not need to do anything extra. Third, this is not a monthly payment. Some people have confused this with proposals for recurring monthly stimulus checks, which is a separate idea that has also been discussed but not approved. The $2,000 figure being talked about now refers to a one-time payment, not a monthly benefit. And fourth, your Social Security benefits will not be reduced if you receive a stimulus payment. I've heard people express concern that accepting a stimulus check might lower their Social Security, SSI, or SSDI benefits. That did not happen with previous stimulus payments, and there's no reason to believe it would happen with a future one. Stimulus payments are not considered income for the purpose of federal benefits. Let me also address something I've seen causing confusion. Some people have received notices or letters recently about other programs like cost of living adjustments to Social Security or updates to benefit amounts. Those are separate from any stimulus discussion. If you got a letter from Social Security about your 2025 benefits, that's routine. It's not related to a $2,000 stimulus check. Don't confuse the two. So what should you be doing right now? Honestly, not much. I know that might sound frustrating, but the truth is that there is no action required from you at this moment. You don't need to apply for anything. You don't need to register anywhere. You don't need to call any government offices or fill out any forms. If you receive Social Security, SSI, SSDI, or VA benefits, the government already has your information. If a stimulus payment is approved, they will send it to you automatically, just like they did before. You don't need to do anything to make that happen. If you file taxes, make sure you file your 2024 tax return when the time comes. The IRS uses your most recent tax return to determine eligibility and to send payments. If you haven't filed in a few years, it might be worth getting your taxes up to date. But again, there's no rush because nothing has been approved yet. If you don't usually file taxes because you live on Social Security or SSI alone, you likely won't need to file. The government will use your benefit information to send any payment. What you should do is stay informed, but stay calm. Keep an eye on trusted news sources and official government websites like irs.gov or ssa.gov. Those will have accurate information when and if something is announced. Be very careful about information you see on social media, in random YouTube videos, or on unofficial websites. There is a lot of misinformation out there, and unfortunately, there are also scams targeting people who are looking for help. If someone contacts you claiming to be from the IRS or Social Security and asking for your personal information, bank account details, or payment to process your stimulus check, that is a scam. Hang up. Do not give them any information. The government will never ask you to pay a fee to receive a stimulus payment, and they will never call you out of the blue asking for your Social Security number or bank account. And please be patient. I know that waiting is hard, especially if money is tight. But rushing or panicking won't make this happen any faster. The legislative process takes time, and there's nothing you or I can do to speed it up. I want to take a moment to speak directly to those of you who are feeling anxious about your financial situation. I know that many of you are struggling. I know that prices have gone up and that Social Security checks don't stretch as far as they used to. I know that every little bit helps and that $2,000 could make a real difference in your life. You're not alone in feeling that way and your concerns are valid, but I also want to encourage you not to let fear or desperation cloud your judgment. Scammers know that people are worried about money, and they use that worry to trick people into giving away personal information or even sending money. Protect yourself by being skeptical, by not rushing, and by only trusting official sources. If this stimulus payment does get approved, you will not miss out by waiting for official confirmation. The government will not run out of money for people who don't apply on the first day, because you won't need to apply at all. It will be automatic. So there is no benefit to rushing, and there is real risk in falling for a scam or spreading misinformation. The smartest thing you can do right now is to stay informed, stay patient, and take care of yourself and your loved ones in the meantime. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Do you think you would qualify for a $2,000 stimulus payment if one is approved? Based on what we've discussed today about income limits, Social Security, SSI, SSDI, and other factors, do you fall into one of those groups? Leave a comment below and let me know. I read the comments, and I know a lot of you learn from each other's questions and experiences. Also, if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up. It helps more people find accurate information instead of sensational headlines and misinformation. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing to the channel. I'll continue to update you as more information becomes available about this and other benefit programs. I promise to always give you the straight truth, even when it's not the exciting answer you were hoping for. Let me end with this. You are not missing out on anything right now. There is no check waiting for you that you failed to claim. There is no deadline you're about to miss. There is no urgent action required. What's happening right now is that lawmakers are talking, proposals are being considered, and the process is unfolding the way it always does in government, which is to say, slowly. If a $2,000 stimulus payment is approved, you will hear about it from official sources. You will have time to understand the details, and if you qualify, the payment will come to you automatically. Until then, the best thing you can do is stay calm, stay informed, and not let fear or confusion push you into making decisions that aren't in your best interest. Take care of yourself, be patient with the process, and remember that staying informed, not panicking, is always the smartest move. I'll be here to keep you updated every step of the way. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.